got?
Yeah, here we go. Episode 4. Today's episode, we did lots of discussion, and we thought that loneliness would be a good topic to touch on. It's something I was kind of aware of, but I didn't really know exactly how it fit into my life or other people's lives, or just men in general. Yeah.
No, and I think it's a good topic. After episode 3, burnout people were reaching out to me. And I had quite a few people, talk about workplace burnout and just their lives in general. But a few of them told me about how lonely they were and that they didn't really feel like they had that many people in their lives that they could lean on and rely on. And quite frankly, lots of them said they didn't have any real friends.
Yeah, I think we touched on that in one of the episodes about deep connection with friends, which is very important.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it here. So, we kind of already touched on it, the loneliness or the isolation portion of it. Lots of it you see guys, you don't even notice it, right? Guys will put on this social facade, another thing that we've talked about in other episodes, and
another mask.
Another mask. They show up to work, they're cracking jokes, they're having a good time, but outside of that you don't really know what's going on. And
it's like you don't really know the real person, right? Like there's a lot of people that we work with that, and I like them. I really like them. They're hard workers. They're happy dudes. They're easy to get along with. And if anybody asks me if what do you think of this dude or this person or whatever, I would 100% be like, oh man, they're amazing. Love them. I love working with them, but I don't know them at all.
Yeah.
I'm not close with them. And would I call them a friend? I might in certain social situations be like, oh yeah, we're buddies. We work together. Mm-hmm. We're not friends. We're not close whatsoever. I've never opened up to these people. They've never opened up to me.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like you're making your social circle this big, but it's not.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say they're fake friends or anything. It's just that men don't open up at all.
Yeah. Have you ever been surrounded by people that still felt alone?
No, 100%.
Right.
Yep.
I think everybody, women included, feel that way in times in their life. And men specifically, we use that mask of, let's call it masculinity, where you hide it with different ways. You're the tough guy. You can be loud and boisterous, or you can be the quietest guy in the room, or they just put on that persona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like men and women, but mainly men statistically, the way that we bond is, shoulder to shoulder, right? It's not at face value, right? So you're part of a team, you're at work, right? These are things that are designed to bring us together, to work together, so we can function and be more efficient. But any sort of emotional or face-to-face connection is non-existent. Right. So
you're just shooting the shit.
You're just shooting the shit, right? We've been on, workplace things, we've been on sports teams, all these things, and yeah, you're close with your teammates, but it's just because you're shoulder to shoulder, right? Think about the army dudes back in the day, or the Spartans, right? Standing together to defend the kingdom and all that, right? That's shoulder to shoulder, right? It's just buddy. It's not really any sort of closeness. So yeah, you can be the 300 Spartans, but you're alone.
Yeah. So thinking on that, I'm looking at people I know from high school and stuff like that, and I still have friends from high school. I'm very blessed to have that, but lots of people I find that they lose those connections over the years, whether it's because of work, maybe they move away, get married, have kids, and then those earlier friendships in life tend to fade.
Yep.
And with that, I mean, why do they fade? You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, and it's because that closeness just isn't really there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can relate to those points. I mean, I grew up in a small town. Everyone's supposed to be pretty close and connected. But as soon as I moved out and I moved to the big city, I pretty much lost all my connections with my high school buddies.
Oh, yeah.
And, then I go to university and I play university sports and I make, new friends. But then when I was done my university sports, I lost those connections too.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, as we're getting older and everything, and people are getting married and having kids, and I've been part of lots of weddings and stuff like that. Somebody asked me one time, like, well, who would be like your groomsman? Who would be your best man? Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
And someone asked me, well, do you have a best friend? And this was a couple of years ago, and I kind of thought about it. And I thought about, my other friends who had best friends. And I was like, I don't think I have a best friend. And that kind of hit me because I was like, I'm not open up. I don't open up to people. Yeah. And lots of men aren't opening up to other people. I'm like, fuck, that's kind of sad. I can't even tell you like one person who I would consider a best friend. Mm-hmm. So how superficial are my friendships then? You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people out there that are like that.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, like I'm definitely blessed. I've had a best friend known him since grade 2, probably became best friends since grade 4, and it's always been a connection that we have. In the same breath though, like there's still that we do have tough conversations sometimes, but not a lot of times. There's still room to grow there for sure.
Yeah.
But because of the length of our friendship, like it's something that's never going to die. And both of us know that like during hardships, we always have each other.
Yeah.
Whether we get super deep or whether it's kind of like superficial, buddy, or maybe we make light of the situation. But I'm always able to have that outlet, which is very fortunate.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think that has grown in the last couple of years. I have a couple friends now that I think I can have those tough conversations with. But I've definitely lost a lot of friends from high school. Not really lost, but just lost connection.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And like we talked about in the last episode, when the chips are down, you really, see who's there for you, who shows up and who your friends are. And in my life as well, I've realized that, there are like 2 or 3 guys from high school who reached out, who are still there. And, I haven't, really talked to them that much, but they listened. They showed up for me. My university days, again, there was 2 or 3 guys who were there, who showed up, right? And it was me who lost that connection with them, right? Like I wasn't putting effort in because I wasn't in an emotional state to do so.
Yeah.
And then there was one guy who showed up for me who, I wasn't super close with. He's a university guy I played sports with, and I always liked the guy. Wasn't super close, but I was always kind to him, and he showed up. And now he's like actually a significant part of my life.
How important was that?
Man, it hit me like a truck.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea that this guy who I liked him, but I didn't know he was, that kind of dude, like that kind and that willing to put himself out there and be like, hey man, like if you need anything,
After years of lost connection.
Oh man, like I think university sports for me would have been 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I saw the guy, off and on a couple times. It was very like, hey, how are you, kind of thing. And then you know, when shit was getting messy for me, he reached out, and he's just damn near reaches out once a week. How are you?
Yeah.
How are you doing? Want to hang out?
Good for him.
I'm going to give him a shout out, I think.
Yeah.
Oz, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you see, you know, we talk about marriages and stuff, and I think we see it more times than not. Like that marriage then becomes like the only emotional outlet for some people.
Yep.
And they talk about how like one relationship, there might be too much there to handle for one relationship, and so it's important for guys. It's important to be, you know, emotionally available for your wife, but also with your friends.
Well, you need that outlet
to help share the burden. Yeah.
Well, if you have no friends and you come home every night and you just bitch to your wife about all your issues that, you know, she might not really need to know about, like maybe it's like go talk to the guys about this and get it off your chest.
Yeah.
You're gonna come off as an asshole, right? And it's gonna start to kind of, I don't know,
wear on a person.
I know I've done that, like
Yeah.
not opening up to my superficial friends or coming home and just being a dickhead, like just be, you know what I mean, like just ranting over nothing and putting my mood onto her, and then now she's miserable because I'm miserable, right? It's not healthy.
No, it's not. And you know, men definitely report significantly fewer friends than women. I think middle-aged men are the most isolated demographics from what I've been reading.
Yep.
And you know, loneliness, it's terrible for you, like health-wise, you know,
Like mentally and physically.
Like there's studies out there suggesting, you know, there's risk of heart disease, risk of depression, risk of addiction, and then with all that comes obviously the higher risk of suicide.
Yep.
And then there's even more, like they say loneliness or isolation is worse than smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Yeah. Oh, you were telling me about that stat, and I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's terrible for you.
Yep.
And for me, I had the hardest time opening up, being vulnerable with people. And now with doing this and reading and doing my own research, you know, vulnerability is like a muscle.
Yep.
You have to continue to work it, to grow it and make it easier. And so I'm still going through that process. It's not something that just, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable now.
Yep.
It's not like that at all. It's something that you have to practice and you have to put effort in. And with that too, I think we haven't really touched on accountability in our podcast yet. Like listening back to what we talk about, I think there's a space that, you know, we have to take accountability for ourselves and put in that effort and hold ourselves accountable. You know, if we say we're going to do something, then we're going to have to do it. It's not something that you can just, okay, well, I want to be better. I don't want to be like this. It doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
Unless you hold yourself accountable to making those changes. And those changes aren't fast. Like, no, they just aren't.
They take a lot of time and patience and practice, and
and that's something I'm still going through. I figure you too.
Like 100%.
It's not a quick fix, and people need to realize that and be ready to hold themselves accountable for, because talk is cheap. Yep. I say that all the time, and and this is definitely a slow process. Which can be frustrating.
Yeah.
But you definitely have to hold yourself accountable.
No, for sure. And, you know, what you said about the vulnerability piece of it and just being able to actually try to do it and put yourself out there. And like the comparison I would make, you know, would be with, you know, my alcohol addiction is, I was doing one thing one way so many times that it was the only way that I knew how to do it. And the example I would use would be like my social skills are super shitty. Like when I was sober, because I'd been drinking, since I was 13, and then I was partying hard since I was 20, and I'm now 34 years old. My social skills were learned through alcohol. And so, most of the people that got to know me and my friends, my drinking buddies who knew me superficially, knew, intoxicated Dylan, who was very, up there, and I was go, right? And I was very outgoing. So when I stopped drinking, that was the biggest thing, was me being able to be vulnerable and being myself. And it was hard. Like the first couple times I hung out with people in social settings, being around alcohol didn't bother me. What bothered me was not being drunk, because I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to be positive or happy, or chime in on the conversation and just talk normally.
How did that feel?
It was scary, man. It was hard, but I knew that I had to change, and that's what's gonna happen. So I needed to relearn that behavior, right? And so, like, you even made a comment, like, when I first stopped drinking and started hanging out with our partners and other guys and stuff, you were like, man, you're pretty quiet. I'm like, yeah, I am quiet. I don't know how to act normally in a social situation without liquor in my system.
Yeah.
And we went to my partner's family's house a few times while I was working on myself, and she was like, I don't think you said like 2 words. We're there for like an entire day.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know, I don't know how to interact with people. So right, you just got to change that vulnerability. And like, even with you and me, I don't know how I'll word this into a question, but like, you and me have known each other for about 8 years.
Yeah.
Right? And I considered you as a good friend, but were we close over the past 8 years?
No.
We weren't. If someone asked me if we were close, I would say yes.
Yeah.
I would have told everybody that we were super close.
Yeah.
But we weren't.
Yeah.
Like, it was after, both of us working on ourselves, doing the communication piece, taking care of the little things, and being actually vulnerable is where we've grown. And now I would consider you a best friend.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it took 8 years to get there. that shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't take, some significant thing to happen in your life and you're like, oh no, I need to change everything. But unfortunately, that's what happens for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when did we see each other, right, in those 8 years? Either working or
the one time we grab a beer on a Friday night,
or partying or drinking or whatever, right?
Yep.
We never really hung out, families
sober,
coming over,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, hey, do you want to come out and just I don't know, watch some Sportsnet at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday? No. I have better things to do. You know what I mean? Like, that was the mentality, but it's important to have those relationships. So is that something that men should maybe consider doing? Maybe. Like, if you really want to have those strong connections, those strong bonds with other men and be vulnerable, maybe it is like, well, I mean, Buddy just reached out to me to ask to hang out at 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm not doing anything. Like, why is he asking? Well, he wants to hang out with me.
He wants to see you.
He wants to see me.
Yeah. Just wants to hang out.
Just wants to hang out. Maybe don't brush him off. Maybe just, if you're not doing anything, maybe just be like, yeah, I can come over for a couple hours, dude. It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So how do we break, how do you break that isolation? What have we done? I mean, I don't think you need 10, 15, 20 friends, right? I think you just need to find that one person or a couple people that you feel safe with or comfortable with, and you think that you can break that social facade with them, and start opening up. And the other side of that too is that as a guy, if someone's being vulnerable, like,
whoa,
how do you interact
yeah,
with that? There's some things you can say that's going to turn it off for them, and then there's other things you can say that's going to, open that door. Because if somebody's coming to you like that, obviously they've cracked open that door, and they've noticed they need help.
Yep.
And so if you're receiving that, make sure you're ready to receive it properly, and now open that door.
Yep.
And there's different ways that we can do that. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, just being emotionally intelligent. Like,
mm-hmm.
if you get the vibe or the feeling that your buddy is really opening up or trying to open up when they're not that type of person, then maybe it's like, maybe kind of like a light bulb moment. Oh, okay, like maybe I need to listen or be there. But the keeping your circle tight thing, I think, is super important.
Mm-hmm.
4, 5, 6, really good tight buddies. I know for myself, I just wanted to be everybody's friend.
Yeah.
So I had I know 50 buddies that I'm nice to, and they're nice to me, but we're not really, friends.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So I don't know. I think that's super important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And staying away from, the previous message that we talked about in our first or second one is, oh, you'll be all right. Oh, this will pass. Staying away from those messages. Like what would, if I'm coming to you and I crack that door open, what is something that you can say to keep that door open? Like, do you know? Like, how would you respond?
I think I would just be a little bit more inquisitive to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like actually practicing some active listening skills instead of brushing off, whatever it is, because maybe it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. So like if I'm getting the feeling that you're opening up to me, being vulnerable, maybe it's simple as being like, oh man, like, why don't you tell me more about that?
Right.
Like, or if you really don't get it, maybe it's, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. Can you explain that better to me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
even things like, I don't know, I didn't know that you were going through that.
Yep.
That must have been really tough.
Yep.
Let's dive into it.
Yep.
I'm here for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I wish you and me would have done that sooner, because, when I was spiraling and you were going through your tough things too, when we're working together, I think I asked you a few times, like, hey, how are you doing? And vice versa. You asked me the same thing. And we were both like just at the cusp of opening up.
Yeah.
Like I could tell that you wanted to, but you didn't want to give too much information. And then I was also like, should I really open myself up? And then I give like a little bit of breadcrumbs, but then I pull it back and I'd be like, no,
yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, baby steps, I guess, right? Like,
yeah,
that was the start of it.
Yeah.
The start of like being able to open up.
Well, and we didn't know. We didn't know how to do that. We didn't know what that looked like. We weren't doing our own research. We weren't, you know what I mean? Like, no one taught us how to do that, and we touched on that. And I think that's a big reason why we're doing this podcast, is because we realized that we didn't have somebody teaching us how to do this. And we went a lot of years just kind of going through life. And so yeah, that's a big reason why I'm doing this. And I think you're doing it too, is to crack that door open for some people. And it's worked already. Like, we have lots of people that, we have known, but they reach out and they're like, hey man, I've been struggling. Podcast means a lot. And now we're able to open that door for these people, because we kind of know now. I mean, we don't have everything figured out, but we have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And we're rolling with that idea, and it's helping us grow, and it's, like I said, cracking that door open for other people who may not have somebody teaching them.
Do you think our issues, which I really do believe are going to be relatable to a lot of the viewers and listeners, do you think our issues are related to the fact that maybe our, lack of or father figures weren't there emotionally?
I mean, yeah, like for sure. That definitely has something to do with it, right? Because I never had a dad around teaching me how to, and we talked about it in the second episode with Chris. Weren't able to get that emotional connection with another male per se. 100%.
Yep. And I think I think that's right. I mean, I had a few people reach out to me after they watched episode 2 and 3, and they kind of went into their childhood stuff. And one of the big ones for their loneliness aspect of it when they were talking to me was they had a pretty good childhood. They had a father figure that did, everything that he could, right? And they were there for him and all that. But the big thing was, but my dad never told me he loved me, and he never really showed emotion ever. Mm-hmm. So then I grew up to be tough guy, and now I'm lonely. I don't really have any friends. I don't know how to open up to anybody.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
For sure, because I think kids learn by watching, mm-hmm. And so if dad's around not showing emotion, and that's how they learn.
Yep.
100%, and that's something I'm going through this, and I know that now. It's obviously a big journey. My wife and I talk about it all the time. Is making sure that we're able to show our kids that it's okay, and people have emotions, and we have to teach them how to deal with their emotions, and that's fine. You don't have to be rock solid Superman all the time, because that can in turn lead to very lonely maybe not right away, but down the road.
Yep. So as a father, from your perspective, what are you doing differently, or what are the things that are you working on with your boy? Mm-hmm. As he's getting older, right? Just to show that it's okay to, say I love you, or show that emotion.
Yeah, I think I think prior to all this, I was under the mindset, toughen up, if he's crying or having a tantrum and stuff like that. And now I'm definitely of the mindset, there is a time and place, I think,
for sure,
to still toughen up.
Yep.
But now I'm more aware of having him label his emotions. What are you feeling right now? What does that feel like? Could it be this emotion? Could it be this emotion? And that's starting at a fairly young age, where he might not have the intellectual ability to understand exactly what that emotion is, but the conversations are happening, and I think that's important. And then just showing emotion, hugging him, kissing him, telling him I love him every day. We always have a good night thing where, he always gives me 3 kisses. I kiss him too. We say I love you back. There's a structure there. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is for me, helping him label those emotions and letting him know that it's okay, and then guiding him through how to deal with it. I mean, he's young, so it's frustrating because he doesn't. I know he's not there yet where he understands it, but it's definitely a start, and then it's just something that I can continually get better at. Especially as he gets older, so that we have some sort of process.
Is there a difference between your boy and your girl then?
Like she's she's a wild one. We'll see.
Yeah.
She's still pretty young, but
Yeah.
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 So we'll see
Okay.
how it goes. But yeah, that's something definitely I'm now working on with him. Is just labeling, getting some sort of awareness with those emotions, and then trying to find a process, maybe in the next couple of years to help him.
Yep.
Guide him better on how to deal with it.
Okay.
For sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you sent me some of the statistics of men being lonely and everything like that, I was pretty blown away by it. Like, I had no idea. Like 15% of men reported having no close friends.
Yeah.
I would be in that 15%, but
yeah,
like I, no idea.
Yeah, and I think too, like you said, some guys might think they have close friends, but don't.
Yeah.
So that number actually might be higher, right? Depending on where they're at in their life.
Yep.
You never know.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, with those stats, like loneliness increases risk of early death by 26%, which is fairly significant, right? So how do we combat that? Like all these stats about health and smoking and drinking and how it affects your life, and so people are taking these stats and they see that and then they, cut out smoking, cut out drinking. Some of these stats, unless you're looking for them, they're not everywhere. So that's why we're talking about it.
Yep.
To get some awareness out there, because loneliness does kill people in a lot of different ways, at a very high rate.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
I don't want to dive into this super hard because I don't think I'm prepared to talk about it.
Okay.
But the one stat that you sent, it was that in 1990, 55% of men said that they had 6 close friends, and 2004, 2005, now it's down to 27% of men.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And is it because of technology? Is it because of the way that we're interacting with people? Is it because, we've had all these very positive cultural changes. We've had a lot of negative ones too, but from 1990 to now, it's a long time.
Yeah.
But for that percent to go down so low, like, what do you think?
Well, and it's probably lower now, right? Because that's from 2004.
It's 2004 stat. Okay.
So, yeah. Why do I think that is?
I think it's social media.
I think that's a loaded. I don't know, right? Like, technology, I think is very good for us, but
lots of negative things to it. Right?
Yeah, there's some negative things, especially with social media.
Yeah.
I find myself just doing the doom scroll.
Well, that's one of the things, right?
Just
mindlessly scrolling, right?
Yeah. So it could be a lot of things, and I'll leave that up to the scientists and the researchers. Cause I don't know.
Yeah. Well, even how many times have we seen? I've done it. You've done it. You're hanging out with your buddies, or you're with family friends, family members, whatever it is, and you just, like, you're not really present, right? So now you're absolutely not vulnerable. You're completely closed off. You're just kind of doing the doom scroll.
Yeah.
Right? So, again,
that's very common.
Very common.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I tried not to do it, but
it's hard.
It's super hard. It's so addicting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I try not to do it too. I know my wife and I, we both call each other out when we're doing it at home, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's something to work on, I guess.
Yeah.
But
going down this stat rabbit hole, I think the biggest threat and the biggest stat that popped out to me was that 75% of suicides are men, and emotional isolation is closely related to suicide rates.
Just that feeling of hopelessness, right?
Yeah, and that stat's crazy. Like I
75% of suicides are men.
yeah. Yeah, like why aren't we doing something about this? You know, and I try and look up stats in Canada specifically, and stats are pretty hard to find in Canada. I don't know why that is. United States, you can find a lot, and a lot of that could be population size, and but like, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
Well, one of the stats that we found again was 1 in 3 men say they have nobody in their life to turn to.
Yeah.
To be vulnerable with, if they're going through a serious crisis. So you have no one to turn to. So you isolate yourself. You're trying to deal with it. You know, there's so many things going on in your life that you can't manage it. It's unmanageable.
Yeah.
And then you become a stat.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat today that one man every 60 seconds commits suicide, and there's got to be something done. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know, and I don't think it's. I don't think we're talking about it enough. I don't think organizations are talking about it enough. I don't think. I think part of it is men like myself didn't know about this, didn't think it was going to affect me, right? And that naiveness, maybe, unaware. And what's the first thing we talk about to fixing something? You know, getting awareness of it.
Yeah.
And it's very important.
Well, I don't think anybody is really going to learn anything by just flying through a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And checking all the boxes and being like, yep, okay, now I'm aware of mental health. I know exactly what to do if I'm in a crisis or Buddy's in a crisis because I got 100% on this PowerPoint that I just did, right?
Well, like, I think part of it too is accountability on yourself. So making it a priority. You know, you might not be in a place right now where you think it's going to affect you, but
you can just like brush it off, like, oh yeah, never is this going to happen to me.
Yeah, 100%. And I've done that, and I know lots of men do that.
Done it, yeah,
for sure. And it's important, and unfortunately, lots of men don't realize it until it's too late. So, getting that process started earlier is going to help you in the long run.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's like trying to talk about like even where your mental health state is at, because they're saying another stat that only 1 in 4 men actually seek help with any mental health issues. Like for example, like I was diagnosed with depression. I had no idea I had depression. I just thought I was tired all the time. Like I just thought I was kind of this miserable dude who's just exhausted all the time, and I couldn't, I just wasn't really happy ever unless I was drinking, because that increased my dopamine and that made me feel good, right? But I had no idea I had depression until I actually went and sought help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And guys aren't seeking help. Like 1 in 4.
Yeah. 25%.
25%. But then we have a suicide rate at 75%.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know for me, like I think I can relate to a lot of guys, because I used to see a therapist when I was good and okay and stuff, and it wasn't helping me, it wasn't doing anything, kind of this isn't for me, so I'm not going to do it anymore, and then it's too late and then you're going back, and I think I was just naive and not aware, like just thinking that it wouldn't affect me.
Yep.
And now thinking about it and talking about it, like, even if you're not doing it for you, do it for your buddy, because I know lots of people can have buddies who are going through it. And so you can be a support for them.
Yeah.
You know, learn about it, because I think the only way it's going to fix is, you know, building that emotional connection with other dudes.
Yeah.
And building that vulnerability muscle.
Yeah.
Open it up.
But there's a stigma there.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a stigma around that emotional connection, and I still feel it. Like, I'm trying to be more open with people, and I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm going to get better because I'm, you know, working that muscle now. But I still feel it, like,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's difficult, but you got to break through the ice somehow.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. The one quote I saw, which is fairly powerful, is, trauma doesn't destroy us. Isolation does. You know, and you see it a lot. You know, people are able to deal with trauma very well if they have a good support system, and if people are there for them.
Yep.
Once they fall into that isolation, that loneliness, that's what destroys us.
Yeah.
And I see it everywhere. You know, the lack of support or emotional intelligence, or, you know, it's a tough subject, because obviously trauma affects everybody differently, and everybody's going to have different responses. So finding a one way that fits all is very hard. I just don't think we're doing enough. Society isn't doing enough to figure that out.
Yeah. Like, to kind of like share the burden.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you got a lot of weight on your shoulders, which most people do, and no way of getting that weight off, you're kind of screwed. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, loneliness. I'll bring up a quote here that, it's funny because my therapist told me to read this book. I haven't read it yet, but I came across a quote. The book is called The Body Keeps the Score. And in the book it says, being able to feel safe with other people is probably the single most important aspect of mental health. Safe connections are fundamental to meaningful and fulfilling lives. This book is written by a well-renowned author in regards to mental health. I still got to read it, but I mean, just reading that is fairly powerful for me.
yeah, that hit me. My mind's racing right now.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were gonna drop that quote.
Oh. Yeah.
Safe. Okay. Where my mind's going with that, I immediately started going to childhood. I didn't grow up in an environment where I ever felt safe. So that vulnerability that I had as a child, gone, because I have a wall up. And then my mind went to my relationships that I've had with partners, right? Because I grew up never feeling safe, or something bad was going to happen. So I always had my guard up. I was unable to really be vulnerable with my partners, right? And so I was usually always emotionally distant. But it's also sad because in almost every relationship I'd be in, I would love bomb at the start because I want them to like me, right? No different than with my friends, like my friends and my friendships, right?
Yeah.
Right? Not, I wouldn't love bomb my friends, but I would do everything, you know, the first couple times I meet somebody to make sure they like me.
Oh, this guy's fun.
Yeah.
He's
Except people who are emotionally smart, like somebody I know, and they know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, and this person is very emotionally intelligent. I knew that, and they disclosed to me a couple weeks ago that when they first met me, and during the course of the years, that they really didn't like me because they knew how fake I was, and I wasn't a real, genuine person.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me that they love the person who I am now.
Yeah.
And they love being around me, and they're really excited about it. And they were apologizing to me and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, you do not have to apologize. Like, I knew that you knew that I was fake, so that like worked me up. So I tried harder, and I became even faker. Yeah. So it was just a vicious cycle. But you got to be vulnerable. You got to be able to open up. Like, yeah.
Well, where do we go from here, Dylan?
Yeah. All my facts and figures are kind of done on my end, unless you got more, or if you have more questions, we can rock that.
Yeah, I don't really have more questions, but I think the bottom line is like you can survive hell. You can't do it alone. And another stat, this will be my last point, I think, is PTSD is strongly linked to the lack of social support. And what I mean by that is that it's not the trauma itself that's causing, PTSD in people. It's the aftermath and the lack of support that comes afterwards that's kind of festering PTSD.
Yep.
Which I think is very important for people to understand.
Yep.
We can deal with a lot as humans, but we need that support.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you left a mess out, on the ground, and you didn't clean it up, eventually there's going to be mold growing on it and bacteria, and it's going to get, right? Yeah. It's going to just fester. So yeah, like you need those support systems, right? Like it's just going to get worse if you don't clean up the mess.
Yeah, absolutely. Science is clear. Loneliness kills, not figuratively, but literally. And the group that's suffering most silently is men.
Yep.
And we gotta do a better job ourselves. We gotta take accountability. We gotta help each other out.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. And this month is Men's Mental Health Awareness.
It is.
Right? So I think this is a perfect topic to talk about.
Yeah.
You can't stay silent, man. You got to open up. You got to be vocal, got to be vulnerable, and you don't have to be vulnerable and vocal to everybody. It's like we've said, you only need 2, 3.
Takes one.
Well, it takes one, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So I've been bitching to you about everything, so thanks for listening.
Yeah. Right back at you, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, we got some merch that we're working on.
Yeah. Hopefully soon. We'll figure that out here and get it out to you guys.
Do some giveaway stuff and
maybe do some giveaway stuff.
We'll see.
Try and grow a little bit more. Still want to hear from all the listeners. Even if it's anonymous. Send us an email. Send us a story maybe if you feel comfortable. I know we talk on the podcast, but if you want to reach out and have a conversation, it doesn't have to be on the podcast.
Yep.
It can, we can just be dudes hanging out with dudes.
Yep. Or any specific topic, that somebody thinks might be helpful or, you're super interested in. Yeah. We're willing to discuss anything. And like you said, like if we're not going to be using names, places, dates, times, anything like that. If you want to keep everything, surface level and this is just what happened to me or this is my story, we're willing to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might help somebody else.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it might give us something to think about. So that'd be really we got a couple guests coming on the next few weeks.
Yeah, super exciting.
So stay tuned and make sure you guys like, comment, please share. Let's keep growing.
Right on. Don't stay silent. Thank you very much.